Hello there, welcome back to the channel, where today we're completing the trinity of dark, edgy reflections of the heroes from the 90s with Batra. Batra is evil Mothra, and he is literally edgy. I cannot tell you how much I love this franchise. So after Biollante flopped and King Ghidorah got an overwhelming score on Rotten Potatoes, Toho looked at their wallet and thought, yeah, let's bring back another kaiju. And Mothra fit the bill nicely, especially due to this movie going back to Showa roots. Never thought I'd see the day where I'd praise one of these movies for taking place on an island. This creates a nice trilogy of movies inside the larger Heisei series, bringing all of Toho's big five, those being Godzilla, Mothra, Mechagodzilla, King Ghidorah and Rodan in that order, to the modern era, moving on to more original ideas, like Space Godzilla. I cannot tell you how much I love this franchise. There's a lot more to this movie, so let's get right into it. Enjoy! You know the drill by this point. Takuya was a former teacher of archaeology at Toho University. Get it? And he doesn't pay child support. No, that's canon. Masako is his former wife who is not paying child support to, and their daughter is called Midori. Takeshi is the president of a company known as Maritomo, which pollute the earth in their race for profits. Anton is his right-hand man, who is constantly being sent out on missions for the company. Professor Fukazawa is, well, a professor. Nobashi is a representative for the Japanese Prime Minister, and Miki is here as per usual with her psychic powers. The last movie ended with Godzilla being picked up by Mecha King Ghidorah and being dropped off into the sea, where he went into hibernation. Godzilla vs. Mothra starts with Godzilla peacefully chilling at the bottom of the ocean after the last film. But for some reason, the universe just hates him, as a meteor strikes his exact location.
Everybody hates me!
No, little dude, honest!
Hold on, I hate him.
We get another amazing title card, and a massive tsunami destroys the landscape, revealing a giant egg. After stealing an artifact and destroying a temple, Takuya is imprisoned by the local authorities. Nobashi, Anton, and Takuya's former wife, Masako, will meet him in prison, because they want him to investigate an island for them. He initially refuses, even after his ex brings up their child, before changing his mind after the possibility of having to stay in the prison for years. Nobashi meets Fukazawa to examine how the meteorite is rapidly deteriorating the planet, while a mysterious creature emerges in the Arctic. Takuya, Masako, and Anton travel to Infant Island, and Takuya makes some calculations when they find a bridge.
3人でざっと180キロ。楽勝だよ。朝子、お前太っただろ。
Honestly, the dynamic between the protagonists and their dialogue to each other is one of the highlights of the movie. After finding a hidden passage behind a waterfall with some mysterious cave paintings, they reach the egg, and run into the twin protectors of Mothra, the Cosmos. Lore time. Okay, so 12,000 years ago, everybody lived in harmony. Then the fire. Then a group of scientists made 12 weather machines designed to drain the Earth of its energy. In response, the Earth created Batra, who managed to destroy the machines, causing the island to flood, leading them to their tallest mountain. However, Batra eventually turned against the Earth, leading it to then create Mothra, its counterpart, in order to stop him. But now, the Earth thinks that humanity is a threat to it, due to the pollution and exploitation of its natural environments, and so it reawakened Batra. Despite many protests, Takeshi still continues mining oil, calling Anton and asking him to take what he's found back, so they move the egg off the island using a very big boat. Batra emerges in Japan, fighting off the military and knocking over Tokyo Tower before burrowing back underground again. Godzilla tries to attack Mothra, leading Anton to get rid of the egg, and after a bit of a fight between the monsters, Batra also appears. Mothra manages to escape amidst all the chaos, and a tectonic plate beneath the other two kaiju breaks, causing them to fall into an underwater volcano. When they reach land, Anton steals the Cosmos and brings them to Takashi, and at the airport Masako and Takuya meet Midori, But unfortunately, Takuya mysteriously disappears before he can say hello to his daughter. The Cosmos call out to Mothra, and then go missing the next day as she tries to enter Tokyo. Miseko and Miki drive around the city trying to find them, as Miki can use her psychic powers to hear their song. Mothra makes landfall, and Midori finds Takuya, who has the Cosmos. He reveals that he stole them to get the rewards so that he could start a new life. He believes that he failed his daughter and wife and wants to leave it all behind for their sake. But upon seeing them again, they decide to help the Cosmos instead. They convince Mothra to leave, but then the military attacks her, and so she heads for the National Diet building, building a cocoon around herself. However, Takeshi notices the Cosmos in a news broadcast, and wants Anton to get them. But instead of continuing to go along with his schemes, Anton actually calls him out on it as Mount Fuji starts to erupt, before he leaves. Fukazawa saves the crew as the reason behind the eruption is revealed. I'll give you 4 guesses as to who. Godzilla escapes Mount Fuji with advanced graphics and wicked transitions, walking over power lines in a classic fashion. The second titular monster hatches, flying away. And not to be outdone, Batra evolves into its Imago form. Batra and Mothra fight over Tokyo until Godzilla shows up, promptly getting a building dropped on him. As per usual, it has no effect. The other monsters and the Cosmos start glowing, but interrupted by the Big G, who tries to drop a Ferris wheel onto Mothra. Batra saves her, but Godzilla blasts them with his atomic breath. And at this point, both of them have had enough. Everybody hates him to such an extent that even the polar opposite forces of the universe team up to dunk on him. Or rather, simply dunk him, as after a struggle they pick him up and whisk him away to the ocean, where both he and Batra fall into the sea, the latter sacrificing himself so that Mothra can continue his mission. What is that mission, you may ask? Well, the next morning, the Cosmos explained that Batra, being a guardian of Earth, was originally created to stop a meteor which was going to destroy the Earth. No, that wasn't the same meteor from the start. I'm telling you, everybody hates him. So Mothra will now go out into space and change its course, and so the Cosmos then Tinkerbell out of the atmosphere, with Mothra following suit. As she leaves, the crew asks if she will ever return, which we get the reply that she will someday. Mothra continues to fly into space, leaving behind sparkles, and also strange, ominous writing, most likely a prophecy or some sort of an explanation as to what this ending means. Unfortunately, I can't read Japanese, so we all will never know the true lore behind it. Godzilla's design is, for a third time, basically the same as the Bio Goji suit, and remains pretty close to that design for the rest of this era. Feel free to argue with me over the semantics, so I'm not going to start the my thoughts section of this video with his design anymore, until Godzilla vs Destroyer. I will admit, I was hesitant to watch this movie, especially when I learned it was less sci-fi, but this film definitely proved me wrong. Firstly, Batra. Yes, I did poke some fun at him in the intro, but low hanging fruit aside, and I love his design. His sharp armor is just such a great parallel to Mothra's soft, fluffy texture, and the colour of both of their eyes are just perfect. Bold reds and yellows present in his intricate markings and patterns make such a perfect contrast to his dark shell. If I could only describe him in one word, it would be sharp, but if you gave me 2, it'd undoubtedly be very sharp. His mouth and face reinforces that bug-like expression, and the horned crown on his head and his segmented wings really help his silhouette stand out from Mothra. Her design has also been given a major improvement, with the proportions of her face being evened out, her eyes being a wonderful shade of blue, the black, orange, and white colour palette looking fantastic, and so much fluff.
He's so fluffy, I'm gonna die!
Despicable Me memes are still relevant, right? I'm actually really glad that we got the Big 5 in the Heisei era. It really helps tie it back to the Showa era and rest of the franchise, and they absolutely cooked with the designs. Each one of them is probably the definitive version of each character, creating a template for future yeah, not you. I can see the argument for the Heisei era lacking in originality, but I have rather enjoyed seeing all of the original kaiju being reinterpreted and revitalized. Or recycled. That's the name of the video. Call the press, cut the titles, Terror of Mecha. I'm only now realizing that I accidentally used the same joke twice in a row due to writing both scripts at the same time. But since it's funnier to address that fact than remedy it, well, it's staying. I also like how Batra is as much the bad guy as Mothra is the good guy. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely clear on his origin, but I'm pretty sure that he is part of the Earth's natural protective system. as he was made to stop a meteor from destroying all life. Mothra fights for humanity, but Batra protects the natural balance, creating a nice dynamic. It would be cool to see something like that in a modern Godzilla film, but it's not that likely to happen. Godzilla is once again an antagonist, but not a villain. He just got out of the wrong side of bed one morning. Every morning. Probably because he doesn't deserve to be happy or something.
Everybody!
The couple in this movie is just so entertaining. Their dynamic is both sweet and hilarious. Most of their interactions are an absolute treat. The subtle digs and bickering are so funny to me. Oh, and their arc of learning to love each other one again is alright, I don't know. As well as I rather enjoyed Anton's presence here. He seemed like a yes man at first, going along with everything that his boss told him, but eventually he managed to grow a spine and stand up for himself. Miki is here again as well, and I'm really glad that she stays for the rest of the Heisei series. Just having one or two characters return really helps bridge the gap between these stories. It can be so frustrating investing so much time into remembering everybody's names, only for them to disappear by the next movie. Another thing I liked was the way that the Cosmos outfit are nearly identical, yet have some distinctions, like the necklaces being bronze for one and silver for the other, or the missing sleeve being on the opposite shoulder, and on an unrelated note, the flutes in the music. Some of the tracks just have such a good amount of tension, and this all really helps make it feel like a show movie through and through, with the mysterious island, kaiju mythology, ancient race, ungrounded use of transport, lighter tone, and the message of the movie being about pollution. The main theme is our selfishness, how we harm others for our own gain, using whatever power we get to increase it further, and how our exploitation of the planet will not continue without consequences. The main protagonist is rather flawed, being a thief and abandoning his family, but by the end he realises that his family is more important than any riches, and so helps him to fight Godzilla and Batra. In contrast, the main human antagonist is a wealthy CEO of a vast oil extraction company, ignoring both public outcry and his own employees' advice in his attempt for one thing: the profits. He's so blindsided by that one goal that when everything inevitably goes wrong, and even his own right-hand man sees the correct path, he's still baffled by how poorly everything's going. Unfortunately, I can exclusively confirm Mothra does not return in Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, so that whole thing about her returning to Earth someday is not followed up upon. Kinda? So, turns out that Mothra appears in one other Heisei movie, that being Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. But she doesn't ever go back to Earth. Instead, she sends a projection of herself or something to Miki, warning her of Space Godzilla's arrival. Now as for the meteor, as far as the Heisei Godzilla movies go, we don't get any explanation as to what happened to it. One theory would be that the meteor was actually Space Godzilla, which would make sense, except for the fact that Godzilla maybe created him. According to the 1994 movie, Space Godzilla was created due to Godzilla's cells falling into a black hole, either from Biolante's final form, or pieces of Godzilla's flesh remaining on Mothra's claws, though I personally lean towards Biolante due to the tusks on both kaiju. Maybe it was spacey. But then again, she appears in vs. Space Godzilla, but never tries to directly stop the villain on screen. There is one other possible explanation, but I have far less understanding of it, so take this next part with a grain of salt. After Godzilla's story wrapped up in 1996, due to TriStar starting a new continuity, which fans welcomed with open arms, Toho switched focus from Goji to Mothra, creating a short series of films centered around her known as the Rebirth Trilogy. In this, she does indeed return to Earth, and fights Desghidorah, an evil space creature who, like Spacey, could be the meteor. Though there is a far more reasonable option, as in her third and final movie, the main threat is a meteor. But she doesn't fight it, her son, Rainbow Mothra, does instead. And now this could be the same meteor, or maybe there's an explanation present in a couple line of dialogues in any of the Rebirth films, but I can't say for sure. I've scoured the internet, but for some reason it's almost like nobody else cares about this extremely pressing issue, and I trust ChatGPT as far as I can throw it. So I'm going to have to unfortunately leave this open-ended. To make a long story short, this overly complicated segment amounts to nothing. You're welcome! Before we start to wrap up, there's one thing I didn't find out about until most of the video was completed. That being this movie containing some of the best songs in the franchise. For example, we have a song that samples the incredible Godzilla song from Blue Oyster Cult, with Japanese lyrics and a different guitar rhythm over it. A remake of one of my all-time favourites, the ending song from Return of Godzilla, an incredible remix of Godzilla's main theme which just completely slaps, an original song that uses some of my favourite instruments, and the Godzilla rap. The only thing missing is a version of my beloved Biowars, and those songs actually appearing in the movie, because as far as I can remember, none of them do. Biggest mistake of the franchise, I'm telling you. Merely playing a small sample of these songs won't do them justice, so instead, check the description. There'll be a link to a playlist of the soundtrack, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can find them all there. Out of the ones I've mentioned, Godzilla Forever is a must listen. Just put these on in the background when you get the time. Trust me, I've famously got the best music taste in the world. Now, nearly every single prediction I've ever made on this channel has ended poorly, either due to wrong information, generic ideas, or just pure delusion. I'm still genuinely baffled about how I expected Jedi Bob to just kick the can in a LEGO Star Wars Disney Plus series. Anyway, yeah, the Kaiju in -0 is going to be Mothra. I said it, okay? I'm hearing everybody talking about it being King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah is the only one that works. If not him, then maybe Hidora, maybe Angrius. But yeah, no, it's Mothra. There's been 7 times in the past couple months I've wanted to make a short or mention it in a video, so regardless of how this ages, like wine or milk, I'm going to be bringing up the segment again when a trailer or we get the information of the kaiju or whatnot actually gets revealed officially. So let's look at the evidence, shall we? Firstly, Mothra makes the most sense because she makes the most money. The entire existence of the Rebirth trilogy supports this. Toho could very well have seen the new success brought to the Godzilla franchise by -1, and then considered that they could do the same for Mothra if they just made her in the movie. I mean, all the parts of this video are really lining up to this exact point, surprisingly enough, because that big 5 of Toho in that order, Mothra is the second most popular. On top of that, earlier this year, Toho announced, 2026, the year of Mothra, which I do not think is a coincidence. I think this entire year leading up to -0 is going to be a big marketing push and a campaign to bring Mothra into the further spotlight, which, I mean, Mothra's already popular enough. It's not going to be bringing back an unknown character to make them really popular, introducing the West to this character for the first time, but she's definitely a lot less popular than Godzilla, and Godzilla was definitely a lot less popular before -1. So yeah, maybe they're trying to do it the way -1 introduced a whole lot of people, myself included, to the Godzilla space, and gained more knowledge on that franchise and more love for it, specifically Godzilla. They might try and do the same by including Mothra for new viewers and returning fans alike. What's the other thing? Well, the director went on record that if he could make a Godzilla movie, he'd include Mechagodzilla or King Ghidorah as the villain. Now, you may have noticed that Mothra isn't one of those, surprisingly enough. But here's the thing, the director's directed 2 other major Godzilla things besides -1. The rides. First one came out before -1, I believe in 2021, and that one featured Rodan and King Ghidorah. And the most recent one, which came out last August, featured Mechagodzilla. And that's all of Toho's big 5, besides Mothra. I think that they're saving her for the big budget movie. But anyways, that's it for this video. Sorry for the longer wait on this one, here's the best excuse I could muster. That final part about -0 is actually my first ever unscripted segment in a video, so please do let me know if it's better or worse than when I write a script. In other news, it's now been over a year since I started this series, and we are just about halfway through it. I'd like to thank each and every one of you who stuck with it for any amount of time, and a massive shout out to Dawnlong S3K, as they've commented on every single one of my reviews since I made the 5th episode. I really deeply appreciate it. If anyone's still here, I assume you are slightly invested in my upload consistency, so I'm glad to say that it should, hopefully, be returning to every 2 to 3 weeks. Just don't expect them all to be reviews, especially after Gigabash revealed their latest DLC. Oh, and one final note, my upload schedule is nowhere near as good as it was or what I'd like it to be, but ever since my Return of Godzilla review, I've actually enjoyed the process. I've tried to improve my videos with each upload, and I think the longer wait between them is a fair trade-off for a longer runtime and more substantial analysis. This ending segment is now longer than the intro, so I'll leave it there. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all later.